Okay, hello everyone, welcome back to the Zach F1 channel, and of course, as you can see, this is a live stream today before the team deadline lock, which, if I scroll on my screen, will be in an hour and 32 minutes. So we've actually got a little bit to talk about. There's a lot of small details that you need to make sure that you have with your teams. But realistically, before we go over any of that, I do like to, because I don't have the chat up right now, I will be getting it up in a second. I do like to go through what my team sort of will probably look like. And realistically, it's going to look a lot like this. Let me just go into full screen. So I don't think Carlos Sainz is the way to go this weekend. Realistically, it's most likely. I'm still actually a bit on the fence on whether to bring an Albon or not, but it's most likely going to look like this. Now, as you can see, there's a few different things with the live stream this weekend. I'm hoping that it's going to work, but there should be, right now, my Global League rankings. I believe I'm looking at it here or here, and potentially, when we start seeing chats come in, hopefully chats will come up on the screen. Basically, this morning, I was trying to figure out how to basically use that stream stuff. So let's see if it worked, eh? But anyway, so straight off the bat, everyone, this is most likely what my team is going to look like. Now, we could have some differences. I could get swayed. A shame. Sadly, I still can't really do polls on my streams right now because I don't have a second screen. I'm literally just using this bad boy right here to look at your chats. But Lando Norris, like I mentioned, the 2 times on him, he's the safe option. But Oscar Piastri is not a bad 2 times, like I mentioned, because if he does actually have better race pace than Lando Norris, he will give the position. I'm almost 99.9% sure he will. But that would make people give him driver of the day. That would probably mean he's the fastest car on the track. So if no one does that dilly-dallying with the fastest lap on the final lap, then he would get it as well. So, Michael Zach, I need a differential as my rival will have Norris Piastri. It is coming up. Yes, perfect. You guys are actually seeing the live streams on the chat. The live chats, perfect. I can see it on here. Sorry, I got a little bit excited about that just because that's what I've been working on the last hour or so. My rival will have Norris and Piastri. I'm 30 points back. Should I consider going Leclerc Norris? So, realistically, I know this isn't what you're going to want to hear, but good morning, everyone, by the way. Or good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. The thing is, Norris and Piastri do look like the sure things this weekend. I know there's rain coming, so if you want the differential, it's realistically who's good in the rain. Normally, that's either Verstappen, Leclerc. The Mercedes tend to be pretty decent in the rain, so you could go for a very, very differential of Hamilton. But these are risky moves. So for me, you should be going Norris and Piastri and just matching your rival and trying to get them on the next weekend. Or if you really want to go for a differential, bring in the Leclerc or Norris. Or if you want to go absolutely batshit crazy, then you bring in Hamilton, Norris, and see if that Rainmaster can get you any points. But yes, hello, greetings from Poland. I know who you are. Thank you for watching. It's been a lovely morning so far. But yes, everyone who's joining right now, this is most likely what my team's going to look like. My team did have Carlos Sainz in. The reason I'm taking out Carlos Sainz is pretty self-explanatory. He didn't do that well in sprint quali, and Leclerc looks like the better option as the Ferrari differential. Zhou over Albon is safer. Yeah, that's why I'm a little bit skeptical of Albon. So we've seen Zhou got 0.5 million in Cota. He got 0.5 million in Mexico. And now, how has this happened? Just let me get to my laptop and show you exactly what I'm talking about. Albon is 9.1 million to Zhou 8.2 million. How has this happened? How is Zhou less than 1 million away from Albon? It's incredible. But we can actually see the stats right now. So Zhou, in the last few races, has actually been very consistent. And it's such a weird thing to think that Zhou's been doing well. And the reason for this is because of DNFs, is because of positions gained, because he always starts at the back. And like what Biblical was saying, look at how consistent those points are. Now look at Albon. The reason I do like Albon is because he's a bit flip-flop. So, if Albon does do well on a weekend, he'll get 12 points. But if he does bad, he'll get minus 18. So it's one of those things where it's risk it for the chocolate biscuit or play it safe. So do you go for the Albon, potentially where he DNFs in the middle of the field, or do you play it safe and just go for the Zhou? Now, I haven't fully made my mind up on it yet, but I'm more winging to the risk it for the chocolate biscuit because I do prefer to do that. But what do you all think? So, okay, let's see. Hello everyone. Welcome to the chat. As you can see, we've spruced up the live streams today. I hope you can actually just read the live streams as well. The chat's coming in. I believe you can. You can see my global league ranking here. I've actually dropped a few positions, which is rather annoying, but it's because Sonoda and Albon crashed last weekend, and then in Kota, didn't use extra DRS or limitless, so people who used that gained it, but I'm gonna get back on them. Extra DRS in Qatar is gonna work out fine. Actually, I do want to talk about chips for a second before I get into any more chats. Anyone using chips, basically, if you have no negative in autopilot, and you only have one other chip available, use that. Because realistically, you want to be using any sort of chip you can bring in for any sprint race. So if you've got two chips left, just use whatever chips you've got. But realistically, and this is why I want to be careful, because I did get a message on my YouTube channel, pardon me, about someone who had, I believe it was autopilot still available, and I would have initially gone, yeah, okay, autopilot, but they had limitless and extra DRS as well. Now, if you've still got extra DRS and limitless, no matter if the weekend is bad for what I think it would be, so a weekend where I wouldn't use it, if you've still got them left, you have to use both of those at a sprint race weekend, so I would still use limitless or extra DRS this weekend, most likely extra DRS, if you only have those two left and you just need to use them up. Because realistically, a bad sprint race weekend is still a better weekend than a normal race weekend for extra DRS or limitless. Now, if you don't have any of those, it's better to use no negative and autopilot 100%. But if you're in a situation where you have limitless, autopilot and no negative, you've just got to use the big chips at the sprint race weekends, no matter if they are good or bad realistically. Okay, let's get back into this. Okay, so Michael asks, is Yuki a good choice with this weekend? I already have him. It would save me a transfer and he could be good in overtakes in sprint. Yeah, so correct me if I'm wrong, but Yuki qualified 18th. And not the best for him, but we know where Lawson's put that car. We know Yuki Tsunoda should be doing better. The issue with Yuki Tsunoda, like I mentioned, if I bring up his stats right here, is like Alex Albon. Hopefully you can still see me up there. Like Alex Albon, Mexico, minus 20. Baku, minus 19. Italy, minus 17. He is prone to getting quite a few mistakes and quite a few DNFs. But on an F1 fantasy term, just statistically and from what we've seen from him in sprint quality, if he can carry on doing bad in qualifying, he 100% is a good option. The issue is just make sure you have Norris and Piastri. I don't think I can stress this enough. If you can bring in Norris and Piastri, it doesn't matter if you have double Sauber and Colapinto. That will perform much better than a team with Norris Leclerc, Norris Sainz, Piastri Leclerc, Piastri Sainz. Any of these teams, Verstappen, Norris, it will do better than all of those. Because I know, again, I'll actually bring up Verstappen up here as well. Verstappen, this is why I would not bring him in. He's initially 31.8 million. But look, even in a weekend like Kota where he did well, 38 points sounds good. But then when you look at Charles Leclerc, who got 55 points, it's just incredible. I just don't think Verstappen's worth using. And in a race weekend like this, you just have to be careful. And I do think Norris and Piastri, with the amount of pace they showed and in the sprint quali, even though it's gonna rain, McLaren haven't looked terrible in the rain. It's sort of a what's the word? It sort of closes the gap to everyone. I think if it does rain, Mercedes are a big differential for anyone who wants to go absolutely crazy, because we've seen in Silverstone, Canada, that they perform well in the rain. Who knows if it will be the same this far into the season, considering the drop-off in pace. But like someone mentioned before, I believe it was Michael. I believe it was Michael said that they needed a differential. That could be a crazy differential for the rain. Piastri versus Leclerc, Piastri 100%. So I mentioned this in my post-sprint race video, but Piastri has got... We know he's decent in a race. He looked good in qualifying. Most likely, he will be giving that position to Lando Norris, but that is not an issue because we all love in F1 Fantasy that driver of the day is 10 points and fastest laps 10 points. So realistically, Piastri could end up on like 30 points after the weekend and Lando Norris could finish up on 33, 34. But then take into driver of the day, let's take out fastest lap because fastest lap is anyone's game these days with how much craziness goes on the final laps. With driver of the day, that would put Piastri up to 40 and Lando Norris only on 34. And then that's a big gap. That's a 12-point deficit for whoever you times 2 on, which is why I think Piastri's better than Leclerc, even though I didn't mention Leclerc, because Leclerc's not doing that this weekend unless there's a big crash with the McLarens. Sainz isn't doing that. Verstappen isn't doing that. Russell Hamilton isn't doing that. And that's why I think Norris and Piastri is the best. And that's why I also think it's a good weekend for autopilot, because if Piastri technically wins, it's worth using him. Okay, right. I have Norris 2 times and Russell. Should I use autopilot? I have 3 times DRS, but I'm thinking of using it in Qatar. I think you're smart with that. I think use the autopilot just because it's a sprint race weekend, so you sort of just got to get it out of the way and hope for the best. And then 3 times, yeah. Because like I mentioned in my F1 Fantasy team, best team video, Qatar, even though we could have completely different results, maybe Ferrari will look good, but then we bring in Ferrari instead. Sprint quali, we know what's going to happen. And then Saturday and Sunday, we know we're not going to get any chaos of this weather because the weather's pretty stable in Qatar. It's if it rains, I don't know, then F1 Fantasy gods just want me to not do well because I can't imagine a situation where it's going to rain in Qatar. So I think it's a much safer option and a much more consistent option in Qatar. And that's why I've swung more to that 3 times or limitless there. But yeah, again, like I mentioned, if you have like 3 or 4 chips left, you've just got to use the big ones right here and right now. It doesn't really matter if you use limitless or extra DRS. Limitless team, by the way, is still double McLaren, double Ferrari, and Verstappen with McLaren and Ferrari. If you want the differential team, you could take out Carlos Sainz and bring in Lewis Hamilton, because like I mentioned, he's good in the rain. Okay, hi Zach from Canada. Hey, good to see you. I'm using No Negative this weekend. Yes, No Negative is... it's a good weekend to be using this if you have no other chips, because like we mentioned, last year there was quite a few DNFs. This year with the rain coming as well, even just without rain in Brazil, we've had so much chaos. So it's one of those weekends you need to be careful. I do expect there to be a crash at the front. I don't think, though, it'll be with the McLarens, because I think the McLarens are going to be in a world of their own. If they get through turn 1, they're just going off into the distance, playing the safe game. I think it's going to be... I've just got this really bad feeling that Max Verstappen's going to crash out this weekend, because he's going to be coming back from the race 5 places down from where he should be. He's going to be getting frustrated because the Red Bull's not really been having that good race pace, and he could crash into the likes of a Mercedes or a Ferrari. Okay, Natalie asks, help please, should I keep Norris and Sainz or switch Piastri to Leclerc? I still think Norris and Sainz is the safer option. Like I mentioned, risk it for the chocolate biscuit, Piastri and Leclerc, and hope that Piastri gets driver of the day and Leclerc gets fastest lap. But realistically, if Norris has much better pace than Piastri, then let's say Norris wins the sprint race by more than... Actually, the sprint race doesn't matter because there's no driver of the day. But let's say in the actual race, it's the same situation. Piastri qualifies first, Norris second. But then Norris actually just overtakes Piastri normally around like lap 5 to lap 10, and then goes on to win by about 10-15 seconds. He'll still get driver of the day. And I do, from the last weekends, so from Cota and Mexico, let's take into account those 2, Piastri hasn't had the best race pace, and he's been making quite a few mistakes. So I know Piastri is a great driver, but I do think Norris is the more consistent option, especially for the 2 times. And he's most likely going to overtake Piastri, I think. Okay. Also, Michael, yes, if you have no negative, Yuki Tsunoda is a great option. Okay, first cut. I have Zhou thinking to bring in Albon, but he will drop in dollar. And Zhou is going up. Albon has 6 total points in the season. Yeah, I don't know how Albon's managed this. He's been really unlucky. Let's bring up Albon's stats, actually, again. Because Albon, it's incredible how he's managed to do this. Where is it? Yeah, it's just DNFs, constant DNFs. But the issue with Albon, like I mentioned, is he's so flip-flop. If he doesn't crash out, he will score you loads, which is why I'm excited. Because look, in the US, he got 11 points. That's really good. And Zhou didn't do anything crazy, but he just stayed out of trouble. Look, sprint overtakes 1, race overtakes 6. He just stayed out of trouble. So it's a very difficult one to call. I'm probably going to go Albon because I like risking it. And just because I think at this point of the season, why not go for it? Albon has a higher threshold of getting points. However, he's also more likely to crash out. So you just got to consider that when you're bringing him into your team. Okay, Final Fix worth it. I have that and 3 times left. So if you only have Final Fix and one other chip left, then it's fine. Because if you're going to use your 3 times in Qatar, then it doesn't really matter. But I don't really see where you could use it this weekend. And Final Fix is one of those chips where you can use anywhere. So realistically, only if we get to qualifying. Well, today actually. Geez, yeah, sprint race and the qualifying's today. Then, and we see, like, I don't know, Piastri down in 16th, 17th, Norris 15th, 14th. I don't know. Any of the big dogs, Ferrari, McLaren, down where they shouldn't be, then you could use Final Fix. Okay. I'm off 0.1 million being able to run that team. Henry, honestly, that might work off better for you if you just have double Sauber instead. Honestly, from what we've been seeing, it's the safe option. It could work out better for you. Hello, everyone. Hello. Welcome to the chats, everyone. Let me scroll down a little bit. If I missed one of your chats because I've scrolled down a bit, just put it back in the chat and I'll get to you. Right, so first car, I have no negative, autopilot, and 3 times. Which one do you recommend in Brazil? I'd recommend no negative here, 3 times in Qatar, and then autopilot. Sadly, you'll probably just have to use at any of the other races, so Vegas or Abu Dhabi. Zhou and Hulkenberg versus Albon Lawson. I prefer Albon and Lawson. Michael. Henry says, I've got Norris, Sainz, Albon, Bottas, Colapinto, McLaren, Ferrari. 3 transfers. Any suggestions? Realistically, all you want to do is increase Sainz to Piastri. I see what you mean. So you can't bring in the team with double Sauber. That makes sense. If you can't bring in a team with double Sauber, then you're probably just going to want to stick with Norris and Sainz. But if you can, Henry, increase Sainz to Piastri, Albon down to Zhou. Sainz plus Bottas or Russell and Albon. Sainz and Bottas. What's a budget building team? Yeah, sure. Let's go over a budget building team, right? Let's get into Limitless. And we'll show you exactly what sort of budget building team you can use. So bear in mind, you don't actually need Limitless to be using this. I'm just showing you what a budget building team would be. So realistically, a budget building team this far into the season would consist definitely of Zhou. He's been looking very consistent. Then Nico Hulkenberg. Where's my boy? Then realistically, one of Carlos Sainz or Lewis Hamilton, and here's why I don't think budget building teams work really, by the way, because what I'm showing you, I wouldn't actually recommend using, only if you're going for crazy budget building. But this far into the season, I don't recommend doing this, but bear with me for anyone who still wants to do it. I'd go with Sainz and Hamilton. 2 drivers, decent, less than 25 million, could still get a 1 million increase. And then you'd go for the likes of Hulkenberg, if you could afford him, and Colapinto here. That's what I would do if you want a budget building team. But again, I really don't recommend doing that. That's a long shot for sure. Right, so let me get my team back up to what it's most likely going to be. And then let's get back up the chat. Sainz Norris versus Leclerc, Piastri, Sainz and Norris. So, like I mentioned, Leclerc and Piastri is the slight differential this weekend. But if you believe Piastri is going to have more race pace, I don't think it's going to be the case. I do think there is a chance that Piastri gets driver of the day if he pulls off a stonker of a race and keeps Norris behind until he has to let him by. But realistically, I think Norris will get him first 5 to 10 laps, and then they'll play the safe game with Piastri blocking everyone if anyone gets too close to the McLarens. Okay, Nicolaus, how you doing, man? Yeah, no problem, everyone. Hello, Zach. Nice place, bro. Oh yeah, cheers. It's just an Airbnb. Yeah. I have Norris times 2, Sainz, Tsunoda, Bottas, Colapinto, McLaren, and Ferrari. Moving to Piastri, Joe, and removing Sainz and Tsunoda is the best option. Time for extra DRS. So if you have more than 2 chips left, I would use extra DRS. But if you only have, let's say, if you only have 2 more chips or less, then you don't need to. But realistically, yeah, moving to Piastri and Zhou is the best you want to do, Nicolaus, and that's all you really have to do. Cool. Okay, currently have, so this is from JS. Currently have Norris, Lawson, Yuki, Colapinto, and Hulkenberg, and McLaren, and Ferrari. Any suggestions? Lawson, good option. Yuki, good option. Colapinto and Hulkenberg, good options. Honestly, no, I'd keep it the same. That's a very decent single premium driver team. Keep the free transfers for next weekend or the weekend afterwards. Right, this is from Ostravo. Zach, is it worth considering Leclerc as final fix now, starting sprint from the pits? Have I missed something here? Hang on. Ostrava, I'm pretty sure you've done this to me before, so let me double check you're not making me go crazy. Because I always have to double check this. I cannot see anything about starting from the pits. Oh, actually, I do want to have a look at that. So yeah, Ostrava, you donut. Stop doing that to me. Right, where was I? Here. I do actually want to see Ollie Behrman has been put into the game. That is good news. Now, I wouldn't actually bring in Ollie Behrman. I'm sorry, hang on. But just look at the stats, obviously. Minus 45. This poor guy, man. This poor guy. His season was actually really good. 26 points and 7 points. And then, obviously, they did all of this stuff to the changes. Oh, God. But yeah, no. Ostrava, you donut. Okay. Who is playing 3 times? Can you do a poll on it? I would do a poll, but I don't know how to do it on this iPad. Hang on. Right, we're gonna go crazy here, okay? We're gonna go into the Matrix, and I'm gonna watch my own live stream. Oh my god! Right, let's do a poll. Right, bear with me for 1 second while we watch my own live stream. Right, who is using 3 times this weekend? Simple yes or no. Bim bam boom, easy peasy. Hopefully, I can look at that on my iPad. I think I can even take part on it on my iPad. We'll see. We'll see in a second, but let me full screen it again. Hello. There we go. Cool. So yeah, put what you think. I don't think it's worth retizing this weekend, but hey, let's see what everyone's saying. Okay, so Austin, top 4 right now, 30 points from the leader. Austin, that is incredible, by the way. Incredible season you've been having. My thoughts, triple McLaren is the safer, but you don't really move up. That is 100% true. But I do think that it's a weekend where they get fastest lap and driver of the day. And I hope the low budget performance. So I prefer Leclerc over Piastri. Yeah, I mean, Leclerc is the slight differential this weekend if you want to do that, Austin. But I don't know. I feel like it's just one of those weekends where it's just a no one moves sort of thing. It's very risky going for someone else, I think, because I honestly think Piastri and Norris could both be 10, 20 seconds ahead of the rest of the field come Friday's race, even if there is rain, because they just look ridiculous on pace at the minute. Okay. Yeah. I should have added one more, but we just watch me on a loop just slowly. I don't know what the filter is, but it's the filter where it looks like you're tripping and it's like wobbling. I don't know what I'm doing. But cool. Hey mate, I need some advice. This for Chiri. Sorry for the pronunciation if I got that wrong. I still have Limitless and extra DRS chip. Which one do you recommend for me to use? Right. So the thing is, if those are your only chips left, then I would realistically use someone like extra DRS because you're putting all of your money on less drivers. And Limitless here it's not a bad option. Don't get me wrong. Let me bring up the Limitless team for anyone who wants to see the Limitless team again, because on paper it doesn't seem too bad because you've got like Verstappen with his grid penalty. You have a lot of things that could work in your favor, but there's also the rain. And that's why I think if you only have 2 people who could crash out and really ruin your weekend, e.g. the 3 times, compared to 5 drivers, I think it's much less risky to use the 3 times this weekend over Limitless. But if you were to use Limitless, it's just as simple as this. Bim bam boom. Or if you want to play it cool and be a differential. Because Lewis Hamilton's always good in the wet. But I just think that Mercedes look pretty decent in the wet. But yeah, that's the Limitless team for anyone who wants to see it. But if you have more than 3 chips, so let's say you have extra DRS, Limitless, and no negative, use no negative here. If you have extra DRS, Limitless, and autopilot, use autopilot here. Only if you have extra DRS and Limitless, you have to use them on both of these weekends. But that's also why you should have used it a little bit earlier, but it's fine. That's what happens, isn't it? Yeah, Smoked FK, completely right though. Qatar, there's like a 0.01% chance it will rain. And I'm telling you, if it rains in Qatar, I think I might just end the season early. Hey Michael, how you doing, man? Right, but the budget of non-core teams is already 131 million. All right, I see. So this from Ginter. I haven't changed the composition of my team for 4 rounds, and I don't know if I will because I don't know if it would be any better because the budget is only 124.2. Norris, Russell, Colapinto, Bottas, Joe, McLaren, Ferrari. But the budget of non-core teams is already 131 million. Yeah, so the issue is once you've got the Norris Russell team, you could go for the differential of, I believe you can bring in a Piastri Leclerc team or a Piastri Sainz team if you want to be different and try to get a 1 million increase again. But yeah, with Carlos Sainz going up 1 million last weekend and Norris, Piastri, Leclerc constantly going up 0.1 or 0.3 million, yeah, it's getting a bit far for you. But honestly, it's not the worst issue. It could be a lot worse having a team that's not got 2 premium drivers yet. So Norris Russell still not a bad shout. Yeah, right. Yeah, most likely we're going to have rain on Sunday. I don't think it's going to rain today for the qualifying, which does make it a little bit safer to use extra DRS. Still wouldn't use it, but it's a little okay, if you know what I mean. Okay, I'm leading my league by 250 points. Hey, good job. 100% good job. By the way, I haven't actually advertised it yet, again, because obviously I've sort of done this thing where I don't want anywhere else to join the league, because I feel it's a bit unfair for everyone who has joined the league, because, I don't know, maybe someone joins from the top 50 and just wins it all, you know what I mean? But we've still got that going. I haven't forgotten about it, don't worry, because I did make a promise about it. 2 times Norris, better wet driver. I wouldn't say better wet driver. I just think it's a more consistent driver at the minute. Piastri's been on and off. No problem. The F1 Fantasy Tools is looking off, not suggesting a driver setup for 126. Let's have a look then. Let's go over to the studio and see what's going on with F1 Fantasy Calculator. Oh, they changed the way it looks, didn't they? Oh, no, I'm just being a donut. Okay, let's see what they're saying. So you put in 126.6, correct? Let's have a look what it comes up with. I believe it should... Where has Alonso come from? You are completely right. Right, so anyone who does use F1 Fantasy Tools, what you're going to want to do is just simply do this, and this. Because for some reason it thinks Alonso's going to get you points. I have no idea why it's gone like that. But realistically, that's much more like it. The McLaren, Ferrari, Norris, Sainz teams. For anyone who has over 128, which I believe is around the Norris, Piastri teams, you're going to be looking at teams like this. And then for anyone who has anything below 124, I believe it's just Norris, Russell teams you can build. Oh, can you not build a Norris, Russell team? Wow. The budgets are going up crazy. Yeah, you can fit in. You can fit in a Norris Russell team down there. Perfect. Okay, cool. Not back into the matrix, please. Cool. Right, that's still my limitless team. Let's get back over to my normal team. By the way, for anyone who didn't know that, you can apply the limitless, figure out what team you want to do, and then not actually use it. I've been doing that all season long for my thumbnails and live streams and stuff. But sweet. Okay, let's get back to the chat. Right. What is your salary cap? Remove. Yeah, that's all right. Let me do that for you. I believe it's around 128 at the minute. Yeah, 127.9. Yeah, almost spot on with that. Perfect. I know I got very good with I got the signs 1 million last weekend, which was perfect for me. Cool. Should I drop Lawson to Sonoda? Okay, that's an interesting one because I do think Sonoda's a more tantalizing, if you'd say, option right now because what's it called? Because he's starting so far back, and most likely, if he's not qualifying well here, he'll qualify bad in the actual qualifying, and then you got a lot of overtakes, and he's cheaper. So, short answer, yes. But if you can afford Lawson, he will consistently get you top 10 points on the actual race, so he'll probably still get you 5 points. But Sonoda, a nice little cheeky, risky move. If you have the points, bear in mind. Pierre Gasly, by the way, I did mention him a little bit in my post-sprint quali race, post-sprint quali session. But realistically, if anyone brings him in, I think it's a bad move because normally all he does is just do well in qualifying and just move further back on the grid. And in F1 Fantasy, that's not what you want. Cool. Right, let's see what else we've got. Okay, morning everyone. Hey, Tommy, how you doing, man? Yeah, happy race day, race day. Cool. Yeah, 130.8 million means I believe you can bring in Norris, Piastri, Bottas, Hulkenberg, Colapinto, if I'm correct, or even Bottas, Sonoda with Norris, Piastri, which is a stonking team, by the way. Stroll. By the way, for anyone who's just joined and uses F1 Fantasy tools, get rid of Alonso and Stroll from the stats. It's completely broken for them. Yeah, the thing is, Yuki Tsunoda's crashable, but I did mention this to the other Michael, actually, Michael. If you're using no negative, 100% bring in Yuki Tsunoda if you can. Then it's not even an issue because you know, oh well, if he crashes out, he crashes out. You know what I mean? Right, would you replace Bottas with Tsunoda on your current lineup? Yeah, I would do that. The only reason I've got Bottas in my team is because that's all I can afford. I'm going to make sure I don't hit my head on this. But that's why I'm doing that. You can easily bring in... Bottas is the worst of the worst, by the way. Realistically, Bottas is a last resort to bring in the better premium drivers. I'd even say Zhou's better at the minute because Bottas, for some reason, is qualifying actually decently now in like 14th, 15th because he wants to keep his seat. But in F1 Fantasy, that means all he's doing is dropping down to 16th, 17th and getting rubbish points. No, a little bit below that. I'm 6'4", so that's why I'm struggling a little bit there. Right, I like Zhou over Albon. Albon minus 20 really hurts, and Zhou doing 0.05 seconds, eh? Oh, right, I see. Yeah, so Zhou is, like I mentioned, the safe option. Albon's the risky option, so let's bring up those stats again. Hang on. So Yuki Tsunoda is... No, not Yuki Tsunoda. Albon, as you can see, on his weekend, he can get sprint race, 11 points. Baku, 12 points. Italy, 6 points. That's good. But then he can crash out. Singapore, Mexico. However, Zhou is the... No, not Stroll. By the way, I'll get onto the Aston Martin starting from the pits. Apparently, they're doing that. I still don't think they're a good option for all that, by the way. Consistently, Zhou, he's been doing better. But it's whether you want to risk it for the chocolate biscuit or not. And I like risking it and going for Albon. But realistically, it's just whichever one you're tickling you. Right. So, if the Aston Martins are starting from the pits, they're still not a good option. What do we see from Stroll? He qualified... Let's get up the qualifying, because I don't actually remember where the Aston Martins qualified. I believe he was 17th or something. Right. Results, note, schedule. Because at the end of the day, Aston Martins will go from 20th to 16th. And that's not enough of a change, considering their prices. Let's get over to that. The sprint race, by the way, is starting in 58 minutes. 57 minutes and 30 seconds to be precise. I believe Alonso did all right, didn't he? No, he didn't. Stroll was 19th. Yeah. So for anyone for anyone who didn't understand why I said no to Aston Martins, they're wank anyway. So if they're starting from the pits, they're not going to overtake anyone, bar potentially Zhou. That does actually make Zhou a little bit of a less likely option, but they've been looking terrible, so I still wouldn't bring them in. Right, let's get back to this team layout. Cool, let's bring back up the things. Yes, morning everyone. Right, Michael asks, Norris, Sargent, Bottas, Russell, Zhou, McLaren, Mercedes, what would you change? I realistically, honestly, would drop down to a single premium driver team. Drop Russell so that you can bring in Ferrari. And then you could increase, who could you increase? I'm assuming when you said Sargent, you meant Colapinto. So keep Colapinto, and then you could increase Bottas to a Hulkenberg or a Sonoda. The reason I say drop down to a single premium driver team, even though you have quite a lot of money left over, is Ferrari are getting consistently like 20-30 points more than Mercedes each weekend. I did the maths, and it worked out better to have just one single premium driver and McLaren and Ferrari than having two premium drivers like Norris and Russell with bad cheap drivers and Mercedes, because just Mercedes is complete. They're being terrible. They're just terrible at the minute. Yeah. Okay, right. Let's get all of this. Yeah, no problem, Danny. Thank you for watching. It's lovely, this live stream, as always. It's quite nice, actually. It's a weird feeling. I'm doing a stand-up live stream. It's quite nice to be able to move around. It keeps me thinking, keeps me going. Right, anyway, enough waffling from me. Our one is a net loss. Look at his total score of 6. No biscuit. No biscuit there. Zhou and Bottas both much higher. Yes, I know. But that's just because he's been really... Half the time, it's not even his fault. He's just been really unlucky with DNFs. What was it? Where was his first one? Imola. Completely unlucky. His engine just gave up. Singapore... It wasn't the best. Mexico still, it wasn't even. It was just bad, wrong place at the wrong time. I do think his stats go against him, and understandably, but I think you've got to look into it from actually looking at the races. It's one of those where you can't look at the stats for Albon, because he does perform when he finishes a race. You just have to pray to God. You just have to pray that he does finish the race, which is why I know a lot of people are a little bit hesitant on him. And more than likely, I'm probably going to be going onto Twitter later today or tomorrow and being like, why did I go for Albon? I should have just played it safe, but that's how the cookie crumbles sometimes. Okay, right. Just tuning in, any outside chance that Charles can pull out another victory from further down the grid? Between him and Piastri for me, but where are Piastri getting out of the way for Lando Norris? So I still think Piastri is the better option. So I've mentioned this a couple of times, but basically, drivers of the day, if Piastri is in the same situation for the race, and he keeps Norris behind until the team orders come in, he'd get drivers of the day, still outperform Norris in points. So that's why I think Piastri is the better option, as I think the McLaren boys are both going to get over 30 plus points this weekend. I can only see Leclerc getting 25 to 30 points, so I think it is a bit of a big drop off. However, if you use him as a differential and Piastri only gets like 30 to 35 points, it could be worth the risk if that's what your plan is. Okay, I have Norris. So this is for Alexis. I have Norris and Sainz to autopilot with. Shall I lower my constructor to have a better second driver to autopilot with? No. And here's the thing. So autopilot isn't the best chip. Realistically, if you bring in Norris Piastri, you're going to probably save about 10, 20 points, let's say, if Piastri gets more points than Norris. The issue is you're going to lose all of those points from dropping to Ferrari to Mercedes. So even in... It's a hard situation because, yes, I get it. You're basically wasting autopilot, but it's kind of there to be wasted because you drop points from trying to gain points, if you get what I mean. So that's why I do think it's better to just autopilot, even with Norris Russell. Get it out of the way, potentially with a Norris DNF, see what happens. And it's still better than dropping Ferrari to Mercedes. Yeah, exactly what Smoke said. McLaren and Ferrari is a must. Honestly, let me bring you guys back over to to F1 Fantasy Tools, because I really love showing this bit of F1 Fantasy Tools. So if we go on to the race results, because it's actually ridiculous how much Ferrari and McLaren have just been completely dominating everyone else. And when I mean everyone else, I just mean Red Bull and Mercedes. But have a look at this. Mexico. Nope. VCARB minus 13. Ferrari 82. McLaren 73. 19-point difference from Mercedes to McLaren. And that was a easy weekend. Look. 97. 80. Red Bull 8 points difference. Mercedes. That's a 47-point drop. If you went from Ferrari, and that's not even Ferrari to Mercedes, that's McLaren to Mercedes. Realistically, you probably would have had McLaren and Mercedes. So that's actually more like a 64 point drop. Singapore, McLaren, Ferrari, Mercedes, only weekend they've really done well. They would have done better here because of the Sainz crash. But Italy, for McLaren, Ferrari, Mercedes drop. So you can see it's just constantly going McLaren, Ferrari, McLaren, and then Mercedes and Red Bull just completely down there. And that's why you just have to have McLaren and Ferrari. By the way, for anyone who didn't see, these are all of the results from Mexico. Sainz, I don't think he's going to do what he did in Mexico again. Leclerc, same here, probably not. By the way, when I said Lando Norris and Piastri will get 30-odd plus points, I was just talking about the race. The race and the qualifying. With the sprint race confirmed, they're probably both going to get into the 40 points, I believe. Yeah, honestly. And it's one of those things where there is no differential as well to the McLaren and Ferraris, purely because the points difference just is mental. Let's say Red Bull still look decent with Verstappen getting the top 3 positions and they were getting fastest pit stops. They're not getting fastest pit stops anymore. Verstappen's struggling to get into the top 3. So it's one of those predicaments that you get into. Okay, I lost touch with the top 1,000. Do you think it's worth to risk it 3 times? My last chip. Realistically, I do think it's still better to go for it in Qatar. That's what I'm going to be doing. So actually, let's go back to my team. I'll show you exactly what I'm thinking of doing for chips. By the way, I'm going to lock in my team in 21 minutes because I do believe I'm not going to change my team. So I'll lock it in slightly earlier to help you guys out. I've only got extra DRS as well. I'm saving it for Qatar. Now, this is where a differential comes in. If you do believe, because McLaren's dominance does look crazy, if you do believe they'll still have that dominance in the rain, go for it. But I think it's very risky, considering there could be a DNF. And then, just think about it this way. That DNF with a 3 times is not something that you want. So just be careful of that. I know Qatar, there's still a chance of a DNF as well, but a lot less likely than it is in Brazil. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe the stat was safety car probability this weekend of 87%. Like, that's ridiculous. 87% chance of a safety car. And I say it's ridiculous, but it sort of isn't as well, because we know there's going to be some carnage going into the first corner of the sprint or the actual race. I need to turn off that poll as well. Right, let's head back into the matrix for a second. What did people say? So, who's using? Yeah, 81 to 19%. That makes sense. 100%. Right, we're back out of that. Right, let's change back to my Piastri Albano team. Cool. Right, there we go. That was 90 votes. That's pretty decent. Realistically, I think everyone agrees mostly that they're not going to use 3 times. Right, let's get this in this other arm. Okay. Andre says, Norris plus Russell or Piastri Sainz? Norris and Russell for me, differential Piastri and Sainz. So if you really want to go against the grain, because most people will have Norris Piastri or Norris Piastri, Norris Leclerc, Norris Sainz, even Norris Russell. But I think there's a reason for that, and I think it will perform better. Right, Tom asks, I have wildcard, final fix, and 3 times for the next 3 races. Which should I use each? Using no negative this weekend. Right, so you are in this predicament that I was talking about, where you have more chips than sprint races to come. However, it actually works out. No negative, great call from you to use this weekend. Realistically, if you have Yuki Tsunoda in your team, Alex Albon in your team, Valtteri Bottas in your team, any of those drivers that could be in the midfield area could crash, even one of the big drivers, because it's looking like a weekend where if Norris does do well, Verstappen's going to get feisty and potentially crash into someone. The issue is there's a lot of negative points that could come across from it. And we know that with Brazil being chaotic and with the rain coming potentially on Sunday, it's going to bring a lot of chaos. So no negative is the correct move there. Then realistically, Tom, you want to be using your free times in Qatar, which is the sprint race weekend, because you can use wildcard and final fix any weekend. So let's say after this weekend, you really don't like how your team performed and you want a wildcard. Then you do that. Or what you could do, which is sort of similar, you could wildcard in Vegas to get your team ready for the free times in Qatar, and then you're good to go. And then you could final fix in Abu Dhabi. One of those options realistically is the way to go. Just make sure you use wildcard and final fix, not on your sprint race weekends. You have to be using no negative and extra DRS on the next 2 sprint races. So we've only got 2 sprint races to go. Well, 2 sprint races if you include Brazil. Cool. Right, Esteban asked, I selected my free times on this race, but want to change a no negative. I believe that is too far gone then. I'm sorry to tell you that, but don't worry. No negative in Qatar. It's still a sprint race weekend, so it's still an option where you could get lucky if there's no DNFs here. But that's set in stone now for you. Sorry about that, mate. But don't worry. Any chip being used here, if you still have one left for Qatar, you're doing fine. Don't worry. Right, first cut asked. Between Zhou and Albon, Zhou starting from the pits. Hang on. I just need to check something. Everyone keeps on telling me everyone keeps on starting from the pits. What is going on? Let me see the sprint grid. Right, let me see Twitter then. I'm getting told stuff and I have no idea if it's true or not. I haven't seen anyone on the official F1. Let's double check Sky Sports as well. Even if Zhou started from the pits, he's still a decent option, but realistically, I still like Albon. Oh, not into the Matrix. Cool. Chris Medlin. Okay, let's have a look. Thank you for that, Michael. Let's have a look. Do. Oh, also, has anyone heard the new Liam Lawson song? I really like it. You should all start it. Oh, okay. Yes, I see. So it doesn't change much for me. Zhou would still be starting in P20, Stroll P19. All of these drivers starting in the pit lane, it doesn't matter too much, basically. But okay, that works out fine. That's most likely going to happen then. Sweet. Cool. Right, that's easily. See, thank you, everyone. Yep. Good stuff. Okay, right. Kev asked, can you use Limitless and 3 times on the same weekend? No, you can't. So you can only use 1 chip for each weekend. But you should be fine because if you've still got Limitless and extra DRS, was that what you got? Let me just double check. Yes, it was. I'd recommend using 3 times here, only if you have 3 times and Limitless left. 3 times here, Limitless in Qatar, because 3 times here, you've got 2 drivers that can't DNF. Limitless here, you've got 5 drivers that you can't have DNF. Qatar, realistically, there's going to be less DNFs, so you have less worries there. Yeah. So for anyone who's just come in, people have been telling me all about it, and it's good. We're all good now for that. Zhou, Albon, Zhou, Alonso, and Stroll all starting from the pits. Doesn't really change much. I know on F1 Fantasy, you've just got to discard Albon and Stroll because they qualified 16th and 19th anyway. They're not going to be doing anything incredible. And Zhou, starting from the back as well, doesn't change anything. He's starting from the back anyway. So realistically, it still keeps my mind of if you wanted to play it safe with Zhou, you play it safe. If you want to go for the risky Albon, you still go for the risky Albon. For me, I still want to believe that there's a nice little chance of Albon getting some risky overtakes. Hopefully no DNF. We'll see what happens. Yeah, did I say Albon? Sorry, I meant Alonso. Alonso and Stroll. And if we're talking about the Aston Martins anyway, preview driver-wise, I never talk about Alonso because he's never needed. But just look at this. I mean, poor Alonso, man. Let's put it into value. How is this guy still above 15.0 million? He's still technically a premium driver, but I don't know how he has 28% picked, by the way. 28% six. It's got to be ghost teams. Can anyone tell me if they've actually got Alonso in their team? It's not the best option. And then Stroll, I used to say quite often that he was a decent differential. Mexico, he did well, but US and Singapore, he did worse than like Zhou, Lawson. He did worse than all of these other drivers you could have brought him. And that's why I didn't think he was anything worth watching. But yes, right, sweet. We have 42 minutes to go till the end of the till the end of the team deadline. I'm probably actually going to lock in my team in 2 minutes. I'm pretty happy with it. I don't think I'm using any chips this weekend. What could I summarize again? Okay, so only use extra DRS or limitless if you have multiple chips available. So if you have extra DRS, limitless, and let's say autopilot, you've just got to use one of your bigger chips here. However, if you only have, let's say, extra DRS left, use it in Qatar. If you only have limitless left, use it in Qatar, because Brazil's looking very chaotic. If you have no negative, use it here. No negative, it's going to be very chaotic with rain coming as well. If you have autopilot, again, even if it's Norris and Russell, don't change your team to have McLaren and Mercedes, because the points you gain potentially from autopilot will just be dropped from just having Mercedes in your team instead of Ferrari. Now, driver-wise, realistically, I still think it's better to have Norris and Piastri. I know a lot of people want to go for a differential of potentially a Leclerc, potentially a Sainz, even potentially Hamilton if it's raining, or Verstappen with his grid plates penalty. But I do think it's one of those weekends where everyone just sticks with Norris and Piastri, because I do think the differentials won't work out this weekend unless there is a crash, because Norris and Piastri just look in a different world compared to everyone else. It's just incredible how much pace that McLaren has this weekend. I don't know where it's come from realistically. I know they're getting a lot of it in Sector 3 because they have a new rear wing DRS efficiency or whatnot. Exciting, but it also means it's quite safe to say Norris and Piastri are going to get the highest points unless we get a crash, unless we get a Red Bull-esque Sebastian Vettel drive 2012 from Max Verstappen, where he crashes out on turn 1, 2, 3, and then just completely gets over back from all of the other drivers, gets loads of points and overtake points. But realistically, that's something you really can't predict, so I think it's just too risky. Okay, right, first cut. Between Zhou and Albon, I'm looking for value rise. I don't care for points. Okay, if you're looking for value rise, Zhou's the more likely one to get it, because he's the more consistent option. If he just gets more than... Actually, yeah, if he just gets more than 7 points this weekend, he'll get a 0.5 million increase. So if you're just going for value, then go for Zhou. Cool, right. What else have we got? Is there any races left for wildcard chip? Right, so if you still have wildcard, here's what I would suggest you do. We have Vegas coming up after this race, if I'm correct. Yeah, it's Vegas, Qatar, then Abu Dhabi. I'm pretty sure. Let me just double check that. I believe it is. Yeah, Vegas, Qatar. Yeah, cool. I got that spot on. Now, I would wildcard for Vegas, because then your team is set up for your extra DRS in Qatar. Because realistically, there's no real good place to use wildcard anymore. It's too far on in the season. Wildcard's more of a thing where at the start of the season, it's incredible to think about this. I wildcarded when I got enough value to change from a Perez Red Bull Ferrari team to a Verstappen Red Bull Ferrari team, which is what I wildcarded from back in Miami. It was Miami or Japan, one or the other, which at the time was the best team, because obviously we had all little budgets and Verstappen was dominating. But for wildcard now, it's just all about setting up extra DRS. If you have extra DRS for Qatar or limitless for Qatar, realistically, just setting up your team ready for Qatar. Is Qatar a regular sprint race weekend? Did we have a sprint race weekend there last year? I believe we did. Yeah, we did, because Piastri won it. Yeah, my God. Yeah, of course he did. So, yeah. So, Qatar, since we've had it, we haven't had it for long, has been a sprint race weekend. So, there you go. Right, then First cut asks, Norris signs Ferrari versus Norris Piastri Mercedes. Putting no negative with Colapinto or Bottas. Norris signs Ferrari. Yeah, first cut. Norris signs Ferrari. 100% has to be Norris and signs. Like I mentioned, you're losing potentially 20 to 40 points from dropping from Ferrari to Mercedes. And you're not gaining that from anyone else. Sainz isn't going to be 20 to 40 points behind Leclerc or Piastri. Or even Norris. Okay. Right, let's see. Joe R. Should I switch from Bottas to Joe or save a transfer? Realistically, this far into the season, I don't think you really need to have 3 transfers in your team anymore. Purely because most teams like mine never needs more than 2 transfers each weekend. So I would recommend, yeah, if you want to try and get some increase, go from Bottas to Joe. It's completely fine. However, if you can increase Bottas to Joe, which is a 1.3 million increase, surely you could get someone like, if you have Albon, because if you don't have Joe, you probably have Albon. Surely you could get Albon to a Sonoda or something like that. Still go with Joe, even though he starts from the pits. Yeah, honestly, it makes it better for him. Because Joe, when you pick Joe, you're not picking him because he's going to get overtakes or positions gained. You're picking him hoping other drivers DNF and he just ends up higher than he started. That's all you're picking Joe for. And consistently, week in and week out, we've seen it happen. Kota, we've seen happen. It's done that before. Mexico, we saw it happen quite a lot. That's why he got a 0.5 million there as well. Joe is just a dud driver you hope is 2 laps completely behind the rest of the field, and he just overtakes anyone who DNFs. That's what you use him for. Okay, right. Nathan asks, I've got Norris, Albon, Colapinto, Hulkenberg, Lawson, Ferrari, and McLaren. I've got 5.3 million left in the bank. Thoughts? So, if you can't realistically get up to a Norris and Russell team with McLaren and Ferrari minimum, if you can do that, if you can do that, Nathan, I'd recommend doing that. But if you can't, keep Hulkenberg, keep Lawson, keep Colapinto, keep Norris. All I would do realistically is you could increase Albon to Sonoda if you want to play it risky. There you go. Right, cool. I can see First Cut's asking me to do a poll. Let me put that in for you guys there. So we are going to be heading back into... look at that. Oh, my God. Right, I've muted that. Is it raining? Actually, can anyone check? Yeah, if it's raining, because I don't have the live stream on right now. Right, what did you want the poll? Poll on Joe or Albon? Yeah, let's have a look. What is everyone saying? Second poll of the stream. Joe or Alb? Whoops. I'm just going to put Joe's full name. Well, not full name, but you know what I mean. Yeah, let's see what people are saying. Because I do believe, I think it's more risky to do Albon, which I think is why people probably will stick with Joe. But you're going to get a few crazies like me going for Albon instead. Also, I can't see right now, but I was only 1 subscriber off 1,620. So if we have hit that, because I can't see right now on my iPad because it's not updated, thank you very much if we have hit that. Like and subscribe as always if you've been liking the content. Not raining yet, but clouds galore. Yeah, that sounds about right. The issue with Brazil as well is we almost got it in the sprint quali where there was only going to be rain at it was between turn 2 and 3. If we get something like that again, it's going to be chaos. Someone will crash out in quali, well, the sprint race or even the quali, because it's all happening on the same day. I do think sprint weekends are quite chaotic, but it's quite nice knowing, okay, I've got the sprint race basically now in 34 minutes, and then we have qualifying, what is it, 4 hours after this? Yeah, because UK time, it's 2 and then 6 o'clock. Yeah, that makes sense. Cool. Would you use extra DRS for the race or wait for Qatar? Have used Limitless earlier, Christopher, then I would use extra DRS in Qatar if you don't have Limitless left here. Extra DRS, Norris and Piastri, or change Piastri. So I would still use Norris and Piastri, both of them, but I'd put the 3 times. So if you are using extra DRS and you have Norris and Piastri this weekend, Norris 3 times, Piastri 2 times. Right, Hulkenberg or Zhou versus Sonoda or Albon. I would go with Sonoda and Albon does look actually quite juicy this weekend, but you can't count out Hulkenberg because he always does something and always pulls through. Right, let's head back into the Matrix and see what's going on. 67. I think I'm in the minority there then. Okay, so 27 votes in. We'll leave that running. But Joe's at 66% to Albon. So it really is, I think people want to play it safe. I'm thinking, screw it. I want as many points as possible. And I know if there are no DNFs, Joe's not getting nothing. Especially in a wet race. Yeah, we could see. Right, so Chris. So I believe Albon's worth risking for it. But the chat believes that Joe is more consistent and a better option. So, Chris, it's whichever one you want to go for. Right, let's see. Norris plus Russell or Leclerc or Sainz plus... Wait, hang on. Kevster. Oh, I see you're going for the free premium driver team. Okay. I do like these teams. Wait, Sainz or Piastri? No, you're not. Yeah, we haven't actually thought about that, Henry. Joe could also crash out, but if he does crash out, come on. I don't know how he would crash out because he's literally just trundling along by himself half the time. Norris plus Russell Leclerc. I'm a little bit confused, Kevster, because if you can afford Norris and Leclerc, why would you not go for Norris and Piastri? But from what I'm seeing there, Norris and Leclerc is the better option. Hi, Aaron. Right, should I go with 2 premium drivers or Piastri and Russell, or keep playing 1 premium driver of Norris? Ooh, okay, that's an interesting one, because I do think Norris is the better option, but does Piastri get close enough to make Russell a better option? So, let's say you dropped down to the single premium driver build of Norris. You would most likely have... Oh, you'd have better cheap drivers. You'd have Hulkenberg, Lawson, Colapinto, potentially Tsunoda or Albon. That's a hard one. I'm going to say it's better to drop down to the single premium driver and have 4 better cheap drivers for me. I have no negative on, so DNFs. I know. I actually reposted something F1 Fantasy said about no negative, because he was talking, and it is true. The whole chip is basically, I hope someone crashes, which is a really weird feeling. It's like, yes, I hope every team does terrible, mine included, but then I don't get the negative point. I mean, it makes for some good chip usage, but it's a bit of a weird one. But I know it's such a weird feeling as well, especially playing F1 Fantasy, watching from the telly. You'll be cheering on people you never thought you'd be cheering on for. Like, Joe does an overtake, and when I've got him in my team, I'll be screaming. Or Albon will have a bad start, and my day will be ruined because I'm like, oh my god, that's -5 points right there. It really does flip-flop you. It's one of those things where it's like, I could have Leclerc. I remember it was in Monaco. I could have Leclerc ×2, and I'd be like, oh, I really want Piastri to win, for McLaren. Much prefer McLaren. But if Ferrari win F1 Fantasy points, and then considering if you had Haas already, I know I had 1 Haas, I was like, I was so torn between actual just watching F1 and who I support but I want F1 Fantasy points. I need to get into that top 1,000. Oh, God. Right, anyway. It's 3 options. Oh, I see, right. Norris, Russell, Leclerc Sainz, or Piastri Sainz. I see. I would go with Norris, Russell, Kevster. Have you used Limitless and Wildcard? How would you use the remaining of the chips? Yeah, go on then. Let's go through this. Right. I forgot to lock in my team, by the way. I'm going to lock in my team right now, everyone. Cool. So, I'm going to risk it and go for Albon. Let's see how that goes, eh? Hopefully he doesn't crash out. We'll see what happens. So, I still think Norris is the 2 times option I'm going for. Confirm changes. Apply chips. Nope. Let's go for it. Okay, right. So let's actually talk about the chips. So Limitless, realistically, it works differently. So if you have, let's say you have all your chips available still, then I would use Extra DRS this weekend, Qatar, Limitless, Autopilot, no negative, Wildcard, all of these. Wildcard probably in Vegas, and then... No, actually, I'd just not use Wildcard or Final Fix because you just have to use Autopilot and no negative left. If you've got any of no negative or Autopilot left, you have to use them in Brazil. But if you've only got no negative, use no negative. And if you've got Autopilot and no negative, go for no negative because crashes most likely will happen in the sprint, in the qualifying, potentially in the race. And I think that's about it. autopilot here, but if you have both autopilot and no negative, say you have autopilot, no negative, limitless, and extra DRS, then you're kind of screwed. Realistically, I just wouldn't use autopilot, and you'd use no negative, then autopilot in Vegas, then extra DRS. No, if you had 4 of these chips left, you would extra DRS here, no negative in Vegas, limitless in Qatar, autopilot Abu Dhabi, because that's all you could do. But that's basically all you can really do with the chips now. Right, actually, let's go back into the thing and see what everyone's... Oh, okay, it's gone down a bit. We'll keep that going. 46 votes, 57% now for Joe. So it's closer than I thought it'd be, to be fair. But what's everyone thinking? Yeah, Henry, if anyone's using F1 Fantasy tools, let me actually get back onto this. Oh, shit. Oh, whoops. I dropped my iPad. Hopefully I haven't cracked it. All right, let's go back to the team calculator. For anyone who uses F1 Fantasy tools, you're realistically, let's say you have 126, because I know that's when it came up with... No, not that much. Jeez Louise. Not 26 million. I wonder what team you could get with 50 million. I'm going to do that afterwards. 126, what you're going to want to do is just block out Alonso and Stroll, and then it'll recalculate to a more efficient team. That's much more like it. Realistically, Norris and Russell aren't... Norris Alonso is not the way to go. Can you even make a team with 50 million? I believe you can. No, you can't even make a team. What can you make with 75 million? For anyone with a 75 million team, McLaren Williams, yep, that sounds pretty decent. Cool, right, let me get the iPad back so I can look at some budgets. Oh, Henry, 126.8 million was very similar to the budget I was putting in. Hello, Nigo, how's it going, man? Good to see you in the chat. Is Ocon worth it as a cheap driver? Fantasy Tools think so. I've never thought the Alpine drivers are worth it. So they're so on and off, and they're not like Albon, okay? I say Albon's on and off. Alpine are at a complete different level, especially Gasly. Gasly qualified very well here. He's most likely just going to get overtaken by the likes of Albon, potentially Colapinto, Lawson, all of these drivers, Hulkenberg, all of these drivers behind them look better on race pace than the Alpine. And then Ocon, he's in a sort of similar situation, especially where he's qualified this weekend. I think he's sort of in no man's land. You've got to be going nowhere near him, in my opinion. But Alpines just in general, actually, I can show you the stats for an Alpine. 5% charge in my iPad. Hopefully I don't lose that. Let me turn down the brightness on that. So Pierre Gasly, as you can see, last weekend in Mexico, qualified 8th, finished 10th. And that was the best weekend he's had for a long time. And it still only got you 6 points. Bear in mind, Zhou got 7 points. And then where's Albon? Ocon, I mean. Ocon, 10 points and 10 points. So he's not been doing bad, but you can see it's because he's qualifying bad and race positions gained, which is where Tsunoda's sort of at right now. Whereas right now, he's qualified... Where did he go? He's qualified 17th. So it's still not perfect, but... Well, actually, he'll be 16th then, because he'll be ahead of Alonso starting from the pits. Realistically, Ocon could overtake Bottas. And I think that's it. I think then he'd be struggling to keep Stroll and Alonso behind. And then that's all he's going to be getting from that. So that's why I don't think it's worth using him. Whoops, wrong button. Right, let's get back the team. And let's get back over to here. Why Zhou over Albon? So basically, Pietro, people are thinking Zhou over Albon because he's been more consistent. He stays at the back. He stays out of trouble, especially at a race like this. It's the safe option. The reason people like me think Albon's worth it is because when he's on his game and he doesn't DNF, he gets more points than Zhou. So it really is, if he doesn't crash out, Albon's the way to go. But if he crashes out, Zhou's the safe option. And that's what people really want, because this, in F1 Fantasy, getting a DNF is so risky. It really is risking it for a chocolate biscuit. Hi, Zach, how's it going? Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, I think I'm going with the same team as yours. McLaren looks strong. Yes. McLaren look very strong. Realistically, I think a big differential people might be doing is Oscar Piastri 2 times, if anyone wants a differential, or Norris Leclerc 2 times on Piastri, 2 times on the Norris, or Piastri Leclerc 2 times on Piastri. But I think not having Norris is a mistake. Cool, right. No problem, Joseph. 128.6 million, McLaren, Ferrari, Norris, Piastri, Tsunoda, Colapinto, Bottas. Should I use the 3 times on Norris? So if you're using 3 times this weekend, yes, I'd 3 times Norris, 2 times Piastri. I think they're going to be close on points anyway. If Piastri gets driver of the day, so it's not the end of the world if you screw that up. Realistically, the 3 times even here is going to be better than Kota if there's no DNFs. Kota really wasn't the way to go for that extra DRS. Hello, Yannick. How you doing? Yeah, I'm doing very well, thank you. I'm very excited for this weekend. Got my F1 Fantasy team locked in for everyone. It is 23 minutes till the lock-in. I'm going to be here for another 13 minutes. Get those teams locked in. Now, the big question everyone is asking is Zhou versus Albon. Let's see how that poll is doing, actually. Let's quickly get back into the matrix. Zhou, oh, okay, it's come down quite a bit. So let's end that there. 54, actually no, we can keep that going because that's the big boy question. But Zhou 54%. Okay, it's come down a lot. I don't know if that's just because I'm convincing people or because more people are coming in who thought that anyway. Either way, let's see what happens. Okay, thanks for the team. Keep up the good stuff. Thank you, Joseph. Thank you very much. I appreciate the support. Again, I have no idea if we're over 1,620 subscribers right now because we were 1 sub away when I started this stream. Actually, you know what? Let me get up. I can't see your chats at the minute. Let's have a look. Where are we right now? We're 1 subscriber away from 1,620. If we could hit that, I'd be very thankful, everyone. Thank you very much. Not raining yet. Oh, geez. It re-put that well down there. Yeah, so we're not seeing any rain right now. Hopefully, it stays that way, at least for the sprint race. Only 57 votes. Nah, don't worry. People just chilling. Is it worth it to drop McLaren to have Norris and Piastri? No. So that was one of my big things. Norris, Sainz, Norris, Russell, Norris, anyone will still do better than McLaren and Mercedes or any team with Mercedes in it, because Mercedes realistically is a 20 to 40 point drop in a sprint race weekend. You're not going to get a 20-40 point drop from Piastri to Sainz or Russell or Hamilton, realistically. Okay, Derek, have the same team as you. Would you go 3 times or autopilot? That's what I have left. I would autopilot this weekend 3 times in Qatar because it's not a far off shout to say that Piastri does better than Norris getting driver of the day and then giving Norris the position, Piastri getting more points in F1 Fantasy. It's not completely off the cards. Okay, yo, Zach. Hey, Jelson, how you doing, man? I just woke up. Yeah, everyone's just waking up for the for the sprint race weekend. No problem at all. Yeah, if it does rain and you brought in a Lewis Hamilton differential, you are cooking. But that's all I'm saying. Lewis Hamilton's the rain differential. Colapinto, 99% driver of the day on Sunday. He could score big points. Maybe he'd have to have a good race. I know it's in South America. So he's got quite a bit of support probably coming in. But we'll see what happens. Right, what would you... Oh, yeah, right, my bad. I've done that. Help a brother out. No problem. So this is for Jelson. Currently, Norris, Leclerc, Zhou, Albon, Colapinto, Ferrari. 3 transfer select. Extra DRS available. Send help. Right, Jelson. No extra DRS this weekend. 2 chaotic Brazil as a whole. And then 3 times in Qatar. You're realistically going to change Leclerc over to Piastri. And then I believe Zhou is fine. Albon is fine. Colapinto is fine. Realistically, the rest of your team's completely fine. Because you just want Ferrari and McLaren as well as constructors. That's all you have to do. Just woke up. Yeah. Just got a few hours of sleep. No problem, Yannick. Anything to watch the F1, am I right? Using no negative is a no-brainer, right? Yeah, no negative is the way to go. Right, so... no negative this weekend if you still have it. If you have extra DRS and limitless left, use extra DRS here and then limitless in Qatar. If you only have... So realistically, if you have no negative and you only have 1 extra chip, no negative. If you have extra DRS and limitless, they have to be used at sprint race weekends realistically. Even at a bad sprint race weekend, potentially like this, still would use that there. People here in Argentina started a huge movement to vote for him. Oh, okay. That'll be interesting to see if that happens. If it does, hey, I'm not complaining. Colapinto is going to be on my team. I might just help. I just might help him out. Because realistically, what was it? Leclerc winning Kota, of course he deserved it. He so nearly got fastest lap. And like you mentioned, yeah, Ocon not caring about the environment. Typical Ocon. But realistically, Colapinto, if he does get driver of the day, I think everyone's got him in your team. Actually, what is the percentage? Can I just say, when we're looking at Colapinto, how is he only picked by 18%? I really do think that there's about 50% of the teams are ghost teams. I say that realistically because 2 of my teams are ghost teams. How is he only picked by 18%? He is one of the best. He is the best cheap driver asset at the minute because he's just so cheap. I'm surprised he doesn't have more, and I'm assuming most people in the top teams do have him. Good morning. Good morning to both of you, man. So right now, it's just in America. It's quite nice. It's pretty chill. I'm only here for 1 more day though. But it's been good fun. Basically just chilling. But the flight, man. The flight's gonna be a nightmare. I can't remember how long it is, but it's a little while. That's what I know for sure. But yeah, it was. but yeah, what was I saying? Right, yeah, no, F1 Fantasy, yeah. Is good free McLaren and double Sauber and Colapinto? Yes, just having free McLaren is worth it, even to bring in double Sauber and Colapinto. That's still completely fine, Nico. What is F1 Fantasy? Yeah, I know. Realistically, I've said this. If you go into F1 Fantasy tools, you want to be going from, what's it called? You want to be disabling Alonso and Stroll from all your teams, and then you're good to go. Oh, yeah, good stuff. Yeah, thank you. I will do, man. Yeah. F1 Fantasy Tools, though, I feel bad because they're starting from the pit lane, and Aston Martins tend to do a little bit better than what they've shown so far. But yeah, they haven't really shown too much, which is a little bit crazy. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Right, Leclerc signs on Piastri. I don't think Ferrari's got it in the bag this weekend, and realistically, Piastri's technically the differential 2 times, but he's also the second best premium driver to use. Right, everyone, get in your teams. I'm going to be here for another 5 minutes. I'm still standing up. Let's go through a quick summary. I'll let some chats come in. Sonoda or Albon? Sonoda. But realistically, thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate the support so much. Did we get to 1.62? Pretty please. Yes, we did. We got to 1,620 subscribers. Thank you all so much for that. Right, what can I summarize? Chips-wise, if you have no negative or autopilot, use it here. If you have both Limitless and Extra DRS left, use Extra DRS here and Limitless in Qatar. If you only have Extra DRS left, use it in Qatar. If you only have Limitless left, use it in Qatar as well. Realistically, no negative and autopilot are the best chips for Brazil. But if you have like 3 or 4 chips left, you've just got to use the big chips at the sprint race weekends, which are Extra DRS and Limitless. Then McLaren look like they're going to clean sweep this weekend with the triple McLaren. Looks like the best option. Now, will people go differential Oscar Piastri, Lando Norris? Who knows? I'm sticking with the Lando Norris. Albon or Zhou? Do you risk it for the chocolate biscuit with Alex Albon? I believe it's worth it. But a lot of people in the chat think Zhou is actually more consistent and the better option to be safe, as he's going to be trundling at the back of the grid, not getting you many points. Then, even if you can only afford double Sauber with triple McLaren, it is worth it. Now, if you can only afford to bring in Norris and a second premium driver with McLaren and Mercedes, it is not worth it. Stick with the single premium driver teams, as McLaren and Ferrari are always a better option than McLaren and Mercedes or Ferrari and Mercedes. Then, is there anything else I need to talk about? Bring in Franco Colapinto. I don't know how only 18% of people have him. I'm assuming most of you geezers have him. But, right, let's get down to the final chats. And then I will end the live stream. Whew! I got through that summary quite quickly. Oh, and if you're using F1 Fantasy Tools, disable Alonso and Stroll from this weekend because they're starting from the pit lane, but they qualified 19th and 16th anyway, so they're not doing anything this weekend. Right. Okay. 2 times Norris and Piastri, Norris. If Alonso or Stroll win, what will you do? If Alonso or Stroll wins, if Stroll wins, I'm never returning to this channel again. If Alonso wins, I'll probably be happy for about 1 second and then realize I'm dropping to about the top 10,000 in F1. Actually, no, I wouldn't even drop because no one has Alonso. Realistically, how would that happen? So, for the situation for Alonso to win, Norris and Piastri crash out into the first corner. Verstappen thinks this is my chance to do something. then crashes into Leclerc, same corner. Sainz just crashes into Piastri because he likes doing that. He sees him on the side and goes, yeah, I want to crash into him. And then we get Gasly. He's a bottle job, so he would probably bottle it. Esteban Ocon would then have to go into the pits for fastest lap from first place. Don't worry about anyone in between him. Hulkenberg, Albon, Colapinto, they'll all crash into each other. Don't worry. And then we'll have a very 2005 USGP final with Alonso finishing first, with Stroll second, and my GOAT Zhou in third. So that's how Alonso wins, for anyone who wants it. But anyway, should I trade McLaren and have triple McLaren, or should I stay with Ferrari as a safety? I would say go for triple McLaren. They look like the better option. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate the support so much. Yes, like and subscribe if you like what you've seen. Enjoy the race weekend. I will try to be back live maybe the Monday, maybe the Sunday. Potentially after qualifying if I have enough time as well, because we can just go over what our teams are doing so far. Really depends on what my schedule is, but that doesn't matter too much. Yes, thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate the support. Good luck as always to everyone. I'm going to post my team on Twitter. I've probably got some Discord messages I'll get to as well. Join the Discord as well. I believe the link is in one of my post sprint quali videos. I believe it is. Bro, if we win the championship, McLaren, I'll send you the team hat for next year. Bro, I would very appreciate that. Thank you very much if we do. But we've not got to bottle this. If McLaren get a 1-2 this weekend, it's almost done and dusted. It's going to make the championship great. Yes, but F1 in general is looking amazing. F1 Fantasy is looking amazing. But yes, thank you all so much for watching. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, don't worry. I'm not burning out anytime soon. Don't you worry. Thank you all so much for watching. And I'll see you all later for another F1 video. Bye-bye.